I do believe we will begin our meeting. Hopefully, more people will start piling in. Like most proposal meetings, I think that many of us see um, some people coming in right at the hour or a minute or two into the hour. So there's not a whole lot for me to open with today. Of course, today we have a special guest, Julie Patel, Director of Proposals at Woolpert, and she will be talking to us about quality assurance because good enough isn't enough. And before we get started with Julie, wanted to go over some MidSouth updates. So BPC Nashville. First, remember to sign up for May's meeting, BPC Nashville pre-event discussion at apmp-midsouth.org. We will be talking about some of the things that you can see from us at APMP, and we will provide information to you about what APMP has passed along to us. And of course, if anyone is new or experienced with BPC, come to the meeting and share or support those who are asking questions, especially for those that'll be first timers. Just pushing for everyone to visit our site and sign up for May's meeting. As of mid-March, we had about 40 members who had registered already for BPC Nashville. And that was before I was even able to register. So we will definitely have at least 40. If I had to guess, I think it's going to be, I'm going to guess 50 people probably. But make sure you know that we want to make sure the newer people attending BBC this year will not be alone. And we'll tell you all about that next month in our pre-event discussion. Let's see here. Also, be sure to stop by our table at BPC. All members will receive a special welcome gift. Also, APMP is still looking for volunteers. So if you have 1 hour where you are able to volunteer, please just let me know in our meeting chat and I will add your name to the list and we will pass that along next week when Rachel Byers and I meet with APMP. We will give them the list and we will also discuss a special give back effort that APMP is essentially they are giving us all the credit for the work, but we are working with them to choose a charity that or charities that can benefit from a give back effort. And they haven't really solidified all of the logistics around it just yet. So that's one of the reasons why we'll be meeting with them next week to get everything shored up so that they can get everything prepared for BPC giving back to Nashville this year. And I think that pretty much covers it. Also, just be sure to stick around for the end of the meeting giveaway. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and hand it over to Julie Patel for her presentation on what she's presenting today. Julie is my boss, just so that everyone knows. She is my boss, and here I've already forgotten the topic that was just in front of my face. So welcome to Friday, everyone. I hope you've had a marvelous week.
It's all good. You all are in proposals. You know how your weeks get and how things end up on a Friday. And sometimes you're just glad that you made it this far. So no worries, Rachel, at all. Hi, everybody. My name is Julie Patel. I am the Director of Proposals at Woolpert, where Rachel and Kelly work, and a few other people that are on this call today also are part of our proposal team. I have been with Woolpert for about 6 years now, and I've done proposals for about 12. And so as I've kind of, done my proposal journey, you realize things that can always be improved, things that can be worked on. And one of the things over the last few years that we have done at Woolpert is really focus on quality and making sure that we have a good quality assurance program and process in place for all of the proposals that go out the door. We really want to make sure that while they're good, and they meet the mark, that they are actually better than good. So today we're going to talk a little bit about what Woolpert's quality assurance process looks like. I'll share some information with you about, things that we have done that seem to work. Share some tips at the end, just for you to consider in your own proposal world, and kind of answer any questions that you all might have. I am not one of those people who makes you wait until the end of the call to ask questions. So if you have a question, feel free to raise your hand or put something in the chat. And Rachel, if you can kind of help me monitor that, just so I'm focused more on the presentation and not watching for hand raises, that would be great.
Great.
So without further ado, I am going to stop sharing my camera just for bandwidth stuff. And I'm going to share my screen and we will get started. So let's talk a little bit about QA process. And I'm going to start with actually a story that I'm sure you are all well aware of that should be ingrained in your head from the time you were little, and it's the story of the three little pigs. You know how this story goes, so I don't need to read everything to you. And I'm afraid if I did, I might just put you all to sleep on a Friday afternoon after a long week. So, highlights: three little pigs, each of them decided to build their house. One was made of straw, one was made of sticks, and one was made of bricks. You know how it goes. The wolf came to each door, huffed and puffed, and blew down the first two houses, making those little pigs run to the next house and the next house until finally they ended up in the third pig's house that was made of bricks. And no matter what happened, the wolf was not able to blow that house down. The first two houses were built pretty quickly and they were not really complete or well thought out. And that was why the wolf was able to blow them down. Straw, not so sturdy. Sticks, not so sturdy either. That third house, though, was built with a strong and sturdy base that could not be destroyed. Proposals can be just like the houses of the three little pigs. Sometimes we are just flying by the seat of our pants. We have a big workload. We're trying to get things done. We know as soon as we finish this proposal, we have three more waiting in the wings. And so sometimes we just put together the best thing that we can in the time that we're given. And we maybe don't pay enough attention to the structure of what that proposal looks like. That can come back to bite us sometimes. A flimsy proposal, just like one made of sticks and straws, is not going to withstand the review of the evaluators or the strengths of your competitors. Somebody else might have put in a lot of extra time and effort, and it shows in the proposal that they have submitted. However, a well-structured proposal will resonate with the evaluators, the client will remember them. It's going to leave that lasting impression and give you a fighting chance against the wolves, the competitors that we compete against. And the difference in all of those proposals can come down to one word, and that's quality. So let's talk a little bit about how you can increase and support quality in your proposals. So like I said, over the past few years, Woolpert has really tried to develop a QA process that works for us. And that's what I'm going to share with you today. There are some aspects of this in your own proposal group, in your own company. You may recognize that maybe those things don't work for you, and that's okay. What I just want to get across is just some things for you to think about as you're developing your proposals and see if there are any little nuggets you can take away that might help you to strengthen your proposals and give you more of an edge over your competition. So Woolpert has put together 4 different types of quality reviews, and I'm going to run through those now with you and let you see what those look like. The first one is just a structure review, and basically it's just reviewing the outline and the structure of the proposal. Does it match what the RFP says needs to happen. A lot of times the RFP will say these sections of your proposal need to be in this order, and they're very prescriptive, and that's what you have to stick with. So do your sections match the order that they're asking for them to be in? Are you using the same wording for the headings and the subheadings that they've asked for? You know, a lot of times that's the easiest way to keep somebody on track when they're reading your proposal, is to make sure that your headings and your subheadings match what is in the RFP. A structure review, in our opinion, in my opinion, should be done pretty early in the process, before you get too far down the road in your proposal development. So if something is not aligned, you can address it quickly and it doesn't cause too much upheaval to what you've put together or how much the team has given you in the way of content or suggestions. It really doesn't throw anybody if you make those quick adjustments right at the beginning of the process. The second quality check that we have put into place is just a compliance review. You'll hear a lot of things in APMP language, and if you go on to LinkedIn Learning Talks about proposals, you'll hear the word compliance a lot. Are you compliant when you submit your proposal? And really that just means making sure that the solicitation requirements are met. Are there any minimum requirements that you have to adhere to? If there was a font restriction, I know how much we all love something that has to be turned in 12-point font. As much as we hate it, that can get you disqualified if you're not compliant with that requirement. Are there page limits either to the entire proposal or to certain sections? Things you definitely have to pay attention to. Are there page size limitations? You cannot use any 11 by 17 pages in your proposal. Do margins have to be set? Do you have to have 1-inch margins on all sides? Little things like that can be deemed as non-compliant and get you eliminated right out of the gate before you even get anything started. So is there anything missing that could cause you to be disqualified? If somebody is reading your proposal and there are evaluation factors or evaluation criteria listed in the RFP, is it easy for the evaluators to find that? If one of the criteria is experience of your staff, is it very easy for them to see where you talk about experience of the staff? Plain and simple. Are we compliant? This kind of review really needs to be done prior to a red review. That gives everybody a little bit of a chance to make adjustments again, if needed, or if something really is missing, you still have time to figure out where you're going to insert it in order to stay compliant. The worst thing that can happen to any proposal manager is to really work together as a team. You really put in the extra effort, you get your proposal submitted, and then you find out it's not compliant. You've missed a step. So going through and doing a check just for compliance can really help you avoid some common, potentially silly mistakes. The third type of review that we do is a compelling review. This one is a little more challenging to do and to look for because a lot of it is really subjective. You're going to review the proposal to make sure that you can tell that there's a strong winning message throughout the proposal, not just in the cover letter, not just in the executive summary, but from start to finish. If you were reading as an evaluator, do you want to keep turning the page? Are there interesting facts in the cover letter that make you want to go to the next page? Are there stats and figures and data that back up your proof statements? If you say that you're the best at something, how do you prove that you're the best at something? When you have pictures in your proposals, are they there just because they're a placeholder and you didn't know what else to put in that white space? Or is there a picture on that page because it really illustrates a point that you're trying to make? Or does it free up some of the text and you can convey it in the message of an infographic instead? Can you tell when you look at the people and the resumes that you've included why they're the best choice to do the work that is being asked for? You know, why is your PM the PM? Do they have Do they have ties to that client? Have they done work there before? It's not enough anymore just to say that we're the best at what we do. You really have to make a compelling argument for why you're the best. The last kind of check that we have is a technical review. And within Woolpert, we might be set up a little differently than other companies. We actually have a group of technical writers that are part of the proposal department. They have all gone to school for technical writing, so they all know what they're doing. They have degrees in technical writing. They're very good at editing, reviewing content to make sure that it makes sense, that it flows very clearly. And so we bring them in at the end of the proposal process to do that technical review. And really what they're doing is reading the final proposal from start to finish to make sure it reads well and that the content is clear. You know, are there some sentences that really could be shortened? Instead of, 20 words in this sentence, could I say the same thing in 7? That's what our tech writers look for. They're also looking for grammar, typos, punctuation marks, making sure that when you use abbreviations and acronyms that we're consistent all the way through the proposal. I know a lot of times that kind of work can fall to the proposal manager, and that's a time-consuming job. Woolpert is lucky that we have technical writers on our team that do help us for that. Now, I'm not saying the proposal manager might not fix typos and punctuation as they go. Absolutely, any proposal manager should be doing that. But to have one last independent check of that technical review style is really important. And we have found that the best time for that to happen is after a red review meeting, but before the proposal is submitted. And the reason for that is we want the content to be as complete as possible before our technical writers go in and start editing, because we've done it before where we've asked them to read earlier in the stage than that. And they've ended up having to go back and do it a couple times only because the content wasn't final. And it just made more sense and it was a better use of their time if we had them do it after the red review meeting when content was pretty well set, but before the proposal was submitted. Any questions before we move on?
We do have one from
Okay.
Elizabeth Larson, who's asking whose responsibility are the first 3 reviews? Is it the proposal/bid manager?
That is a good question. And again, I'm gonna have, you kind of read my mind, but that is a good question. I do want to expand on that a little bit. Our best practice has been to use an independent person as the QA reviewer, and that's the person that would do the first 3 types of reviews. What we have found is when you are as the proposal manager, when you are heads down in a document day in and day out, there are certain sections that you might start to skim a little bit because you're just too involved in it. You're too in the weeds. Or there might be something you're like, if I read this one more time, I'm going to lose my mind because I'm tired of looking at this content. We have found that using an independent person, and for the most part, we use another proposal manager to act as our QA reviewer, that helps because it's a fresh set of eyes to look at your content, to look at your style, to see if they can find the same types of things that we think an evaluator is going to look for. Again, I think Woolpert is set up in a good way that we have a lot of proposal managers within our department. And so we've got some flexibility in how we do that. If you work for a smaller company and maybe you are the only proposal manager, everything goes through you, then I would suggest asking a peer or maybe somebody one level above you to do that review if you think that would be beneficial to you. We have done it where the reviewer is in the same market and understands the content and what the client is trying to do. We have also had proposal managers as QA reviewers from a completely different group within Woolpert who are not as familiar, but can still bring a perspective of knowing how a proposal should be put together. So to answer your question, in theory, it would be great if it was an independent person. But if not, I would suggest using somebody else you trust that really is going to read it from start to finish and give you a true um, opinion, feedback, suggestions about what they read. If you've got somebody willing to do it, but you know they're just always going to tell you it's great, well, that's fine, but it's not going to be a good use of your QA review time. Um, Go
Julie,
ahead, Rachel.
Elizabeth also asked, are SMEs involved? And I think you did talk about that a little bit. And, we do have people within the market
Mhm.
who can do that. But can you expand more on the SMEs roles of QA reviews or reviews, period?
Sure. A lot of our SMEs outside of proposals are in our technical groups. So they're the people that really have input and say into putting together maybe the approach section or the scope of work section of the proposal. We definitely use our SMEs in that capacity to make sure that we're getting the message across. We're meeting all of the technical requirements, things like that. Sometimes it is helpful to have another SME read that section to make sure it is technically sound, if that makes sense. Just having another set of technical eyes on that deeper in the weeds kind of requirement section um, will make sure that the approach is written the way it should be. Does that answer the question?
Looks like it.
Okay,
Thanks, Julie.
no problem.
Can I ask one more question?
Sure.
I just, I'm trying to figure out, you might have mentioned this, but I'm trying to figure out, are you doing all of these QA reviews as a part of the color teams or like externally to get them ready for gold, or how do they fit in with the color team process?
They are, I would say they're in line with the color process, but they are not wrapped up directly in the color process.
Mm,
We
gotcha.
we will have, for example, I'm the QA reviewer for a proposal that's happening right now. Pink review is on Tuesday. And really, at this point, all I'm going to look for in that, and I'll listen, I'll be on the pink review call. I probably won't say a whole lot, but really the only thing I will have checked to this point is to make sure that I agree with the structure of the proposal. It's still a little early for me to comment on anything because it's early in the process. I will do my compliant and, if there's enough time, compelling review of the proposal before red team. So when the red team call actually happens, I am on that call as well. If I'm asked about some of the comments that I've left in the draft, I can be there to kind of explain why I thought the way I did or why I asked the question that I did. So I'm doing that review separately apart from anybody else that's involved in red review, but my comments are part of the red review discussion.
Awesome. Awesome.
Okay. Here's a couple other things to keep in mind. Not all of those 4 quality checks need to be done on every proposal. Sometimes you don't, there's no time. You're just lucky if you get enough time to breathe and squeeze in a pink review, a red review, and submit. I would suggest at a minimum that you do a compliant review. At least make sure that you're getting the minimum requirements met and you're not going to be disqualified. Compelling, we tend to utilize compelling reviews more for what we consider priority pursuits. Those are our big must win, lots of people involved, lots of eyes from leadership on a proposal that we're submitting. And then we will do a compelling just to make sure that that we put together the strongest argument for us to win as possible. But not every quality check needs to be done. And that's kind of really up to you as the proposal manager. What kind of review do you want on the proposal you're working on before it goes out the door? That's really kind of your call. We have suggested that you document any notes and comments that you have during the QA process in both the draft document and in a separate QA document. And I've got for you, this is what a version of ours looks like. If you're looking for something just kind of quick and dirty, something like this will work, where on the left-hand side, you map out all the pieces that need to be in that proposal for it to be compliant. And on the right-hand side, you can see, except for the technical review, you can see each of the different reviews that we have. So for structure, was it aligned with the RFP? Honestly, that's a simple yes or no. Compliance, okay, was that section completed or is it missing? Okay, making sure everything is compliant. The compelling side is where it gets a little interesting. And you notice that column really just says notes and comments. Here's what I want you to remember. QA is both subjective and objective. We can be objective with the minimum requirements and with the structure to make sure it aligns and it matches. When you start getting into the compelling, as a QA reviewer, it's really your opinion, your thoughts, your suggestions about why something doesn't read right to you. You know, why did you have to read that sentence 3 times before you understood it? Or what did you really like that really resonated with you? Those are subjective, and it's your decision as a QA reviewer, what you feel strongly about that you want to call out to the proposal manager and the team, and what you're willing to skip over. But here's what I've come to learn over the years of doing this. As a QA reviewer, you can't get your feelings hurt. Again, it's subjective. So if you supply all of these, what you feel are great ideas, suggestions, hey, if you reword this, maybe this would be clearer. As the proposal manager, somebody may say, yeah, I don't agree with that. Or I know I like it the way it is. It's fine. Or, you know, they don't understand the background. So really the way this is worded is fine. It's subjective. So as a QA reviewer, you have to kind of put your feelings off to the side and say, you know what, all I can do is make suggestions. I can't make the team accept them. I can only point things out. So while you might think you did an absolute bang up job on your QA review and everybody should take all of your comments and it should turn it around and everything will be great, that's not reality. So you have to be aware that sometimes your comments will be a little bit of give and take. You might see some that are implemented, you might be some that are discarded, and that's okay. Your job as a QA reviewer is just to point things out and make suggestions, nothing more than that. And that's what that last column is. It's just notes and comments. So here's the last thing to keep in mind with this. Quality, no matter what you do with it, does impact your success rate. If you're not going to put compliant proposals out, your success rate is going to go down. I mean, that's just a fact. You need to try as much as you can, given what you've got to work with, to build time into your schedule to accommodate some level of quality review. At a minimum, again, do the compliant to make sure that you're not missing a requirement. But if you can, build in a little extra time to see if you've got the strongest possible structure and story to win. You know, our competition, I think every quarter, every year continues to grow, and it's tougher and tougher in some of our industries to win work. But if you continue to put out quality proposals that really are compelling, your clients are going to remember that. And that gives you the chance to beat your competition and have a compelling quality proposal. Any questions?
I have one, Julie,
Sure.
do you have these scheduled as a part of like your life cycle phase where there's like a point in time when like that's the step is to run quality check number 1 and so on?
There's a little wiggle room in there. You know, really, if I am the QA reviewer, I kind of back it off of when I know the red review is scheduled. And so I'll talk to the proposal manager and say, hey, you have your red review scheduled for April 22nd. When do you want the QA review? You know, maybe they want it on April 21st. And, does that give me enough time to do it? We have some communication about when it's going to be the right time to go in and do that QA review. I think the structure can happen anytime, and that's just a quick one. That should be able to be done in no more than, I would say, 20 minutes to a half hour, depending on the length of the proposal. But really, the review, you just have to collaborate with the proposal manager a little bit. You don't want to go in too early and start pointing out all of these holes and things that are missing when you know the proposal team and the technical team are still working through things.
Mm-hmm. Awesome.
One thing I'd like to add is that when I am building out my schedule for the proposal using our Woolpert process, I will identify the areas and I call them a review window. So if like for example we had a red team review on a Thursday, I'm going to ask my QA reviewer to, essentially look at Tuesday and Wednesday of that week and is that going to work for them for a QA window? And then I will send them a calendar reminder that basically just says, hey, this is your QA review window, so that the individual knows and is reminded that, hey, on these days, I have my window to review this proposal. It could take 5 minutes. Hopefully it takes more than 5 minutes, but
Mhm.
it just really depends on how long it is. But just making sure that the QA reviewer knows, hey, this is going to be a 20 pager. Hey, especially with my sector, we can have 100 pages, we could have 300 pages. And that would be something that I would give someone, 4 days to review leading up
Mhm.
to red team. So it for me and how I work with QA reviewers, it's a matter of just making sure that that window of opportunity is good for them and just sticking to schedule. But like Julie said, sometimes you might need more than just one time, and sometimes we'll do a couple of revisits to our QA
Mhm.
review, especially if there's an extension. Oh, don't you know, people are going to go in and add more, so we're going to go back and make sure. Well, let's make sure that what wasn't compliant is compliant, and I'll do something like that. Yes, we cleared this up. It looks great. But if it's more than like one or two line items, I'm going to reach back to my QA reviewer and say, hey, do you have time to where you can look at these and give me your opinion as to whether or not we are fully compliant on these issues? So just to add on to that. Jesse did ask a question,
Okay.
and the question is, do you have an automated way to complete the requirements column on the QA spreadsheets, or is that a manual process for the QA person to complete?
You know, I I guess in the land of AI, you could use AI and compare and send it through the RFP and put together the outline. I personally would rather do it manually, and here's why. I want to be as independent as possible. So I'm going to read the RFP just as if I was the proposal manager. And I'm going to outline, it's basically the left-hand side of this form is basically an outline of the proposal. What has to be included? Are there any evaluation points tied to it? Are there any specifics that I need to make sure I'm aware of? And I will do that without looking at the proposal manager's information at all. And the reason I do that is I want to see if we're aligned. If Rachel is the proposal manager, does she and I agree on the parts of the proposal that need to be included? I don't want to look at her outline and use it to build mine, because what if she's missing something? I can't let her outline influence what I think. I will look at it afterwards, or I'll look at her proposal draft and say, yep, she and I are on the same page. We're all good. We agree. But I do that completely independently. So I guess you could use some sort of automation, maybe an AI quick spin through the RFP to do it. Maybe I'm just old school. I like to do it manually just so I can feel better about not missing anything.
One thing that I have done is, especially with really long RFPs, I'll go ahead and export them into Word format so I can start copying and pasting from Word format into Excel or a table, whatever I'm working in. Um, it's easier that way, right? I mean, Word's easier to copy and paste from within one Microsoft product document into another document, but and then sometimes we have one page RFPs where you can literally use the RFP document to go line by line. Um, and not necessarily do the table, but even a one pager, I'll have something within my proposal workbook for compliance, even for a one page RFP. And that's really for accountability purposes. And another question, do you use a proposal management tool that has AI capabilities?
We do not. Woolpert's firm-wide policy is the only AI tool we are allowed to use is Copilot. And there's several reasons behind that. And so that's what we stick with. We do not have a proposal department-wide process that we use. It's really up to the individual proposal manager how they choose to break down an RFP, how they choose to document things. We learned pretty early on that every proposal manager is a little different in their approach to things, and we didn't want to try and pigeonhole everybody into using the same thing or the same template or following the same style. So we have some flexibility and some freedom in how our proposal managers operate. As long as the basics are getting done, I don't care what form they use. So if somebody wants to use Copilot to help them sort through the RFP, I'm fine with that, as long as they're getting all of the details. And that they're also doing some manual checks on some things as well, just as a double check and just a sense of ease that you're covering everything.
And I want to champion again. I think I do this with every meeting. Copilot is so awesome. It's my favorite. If you are a enterprise with Microsoft and you can convince them to get you a licensed Copilot, oh my goodness, there is no real prompt engineering that you really need to do with Copilot. You can talk to it like it's, a teenager and it understands you and what you need. So that's it is my co-pilot as I fly these planes.
Mhm.
Oh, that's sad. Rachel Byer said that her company won't let them have it. So, and I do
Mhm.
know that there are some larger companies um, that are still debating on use of Copilot. My husband's company, and he works in IT, they have been talking about whether or not they're going to use a licensed Copilot and give it to everyone. They've been talking about it for 6 months. And I give him feedback. Oh, it's great. It's great. It's great. Go to your boss. Let him know it's great. So I'm hoping that it will spread. I think there's a lot of fear with it. And if you take the time to educate the people above you on the benefits and how, especially the licensed product is keeps everything closed and away from the public's eye, it's definitely worth pushing. Let's see. And Elizabeth did say that she does have Copilot, but they also use an internal AI tool
Mhm.
for evaluating proposal management AI. Well, an internal AI tool, and we are evaluating proposal management AI tools.
Mhm.
And I will say that feeding the RFP to Copilot and asking for an evaluation matrix, um, I think it is not 100% accurate, but it's a good way to start. And it's also a good way to check yourself to make sure that your own matrix is fully, I guess, populated. You can compare the two that way. Do we have any other questions? We have a very shy group sometimes. Well,
Oh, good.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Julie. We
No
really
problem.
appreciate your time and presenting this to us. And we will be posting this recording to our website. Caroline is our technology chair, and she'll have the joy of figuring all of that out as we merge into this new format setting that we're using. Um, Wanted to open up the floor to see if anybody has any general questions, whether it's Mid-South, APMP related, or even going back to Julie's presentation. Oh, they're so quiet. It kills me. It kills me. Not that y'all are quiet. That uncomfortable silence. Okay then. Well, it is 12:40 Central Time, and we have a special giveaway. As you know, at the end of all of our chapter meetings, we do a $25 gift card giveaway from Amazon.com. It does not have to be an Amazon gift card. You can choose any gift card worth $25 from Amazon, and I will coordinate with the winner. And Kelly is working on picking up a winner here. It excludes our board members. And Ashley, congratulations.
Yay!
Ashley, I will contact you via the email that we have for you on file, the same one where you received the invitation for this meeting. And I'll send that to you right after our meeting. And we can, oh, yay! Yay, she's saying, oh my gosh, thank you so much. You're more than welcome. So just look out for my email and we'll get that turned around as quickly as possible for you. And I hope everyone visits our website and signs up for next month. And for those of you that are not within our chapter that joined us today, I want to reiterate that your chapter does not necessarily, I'll get to you in a second, Elizabeth, your chapter does not necessarily need to align to your geographic area. I highly encourage those who live outside of the Alabama, Kentucky, Tennessee, Louisiana, Arkansas, and Mississippi. If you live outside of that area, you can look at other chapters and sign up with them. But if you don't have a home, a chapter, I really encourage you to look around. Of course, I'm going to encourage you to join us here at MidSouth. But really it's accommodating your needs, finding the chapter that accommodates your needs. And if you ever need any assistance with that, please feel free to reach out to me with my email address, chair at the at I think you all have it. It's on the website. I can't even remember the exact address. It sounds horrible, but you also have my work email address as well. And Elizabeth, you had your hand raised.
Yeah, thank you, Rachel. I joined a minute late and I was just I heard part of it where you were talking about the volunteer opportunities for the upcoming conference. And I just wondered if you could repeat that, what the different opportunities might be.
I don't know the exact opportunities. APMP has several different things that they're going to be asking for volunteers. An example of one is to be one of the people who stand and welcome people into the conference when the doors open for the first time on Sunday afternoon, early evening. And we'll have volunteer opportunities for members to help us at our Mid-South table. It's really just an hour of your time. And right now it's just a name that we can push forward to APMP. I do believe we have enough board members going to where we'll have enough people at the table, but if you can't commit to a time right now, while you're at BPC, if you see that, hey, I've got an hour to kill, I think I'll go over to the Mid-South table and see if they need some help. We would more than welcome you to stand with us and talk with potential members. So if it's a matter of not really knowing whether or not you'll have an hour and how will that hour fit in, um, That's okay. And if you want to wait to volunteer until closer to that time, I can send your information to Chelsea later on. I'll just get a deadline from her next Wednesday when we have our meeting and see when is the absolute latest. We can forward you names, times, so forth and so on.
Okay, thanks. I'm based in Nashville, so just it's easy for me. I'm not trying to negotiate other things. So thanks.
Okay. Yeah, Elizabeth, if you'll just well actually I I'll write it down, but because I'm writing it down does not mean that I'm going to remember it. But if you want to just put into our chat that that you are interested in the volunteer opportunity, that way I can make sure that I check myself and get you on the list if that's what you want to do. And with that, okay. Thanks so much, Elizabeth. And thank you all. Thank you, Julie, and our board members for attending our call today. You all get about 14 minutes back of your time, and I hope you are able to step away and do something for yourself in the next 15 minutes before maybe you have your next meeting. So do something nice for yourself and have a marvelous weekend.